you're looking good.
Well, thanks. You're looking pretty good, yeah.
It's good. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, really, really good. It's been, like you said, it's been a hell of a year. Oh, my God, you know. The last time I was here, I was just still wondering if I should tell anyone I was suffering from mental illness and had come through mental illness. I thought I'd come onto the Late, mention it once and never have to speak about it ever again.
Very low key.
Very low key. And since then, it's just the whole world has happened. It's a year on Sunday since my mother died. My kids are 10 weeks old today. It's just it's like so many anniversaries are happening. And and I feel good. I'm in control and I'm enjoying my life a lot, yeah.
Good lad. Let's talk about the Bubsies. So they're 10 weeks old.
Yeah.
What's their names?
Milo and Stevie. So a boy and a girl we had. And my God, like, you really get what you wear in the world. That's what I've learned about kids. You know, the girl is just like her mother, so together, and nothing's a big deal, and gets on with life, and everything's fine.
You're getting real good brownie points for this.
Oh,
here,
yeah,
PJ,
but it's just true. But he is like me. Like, he is just mental. He's so difficult to... How you can feed anything that much milk and still be the size of a chicken nugget, I just can't understand it. And it's just... And he really is so full of... He's hard work. Like, he is like me. He is hard work.
So you can see what's coming down the tracks even now. Yeah,
oh yeah, big time, yeah. Like, it's amazing. We use a pram for her, but we're just going to keep him in a cage with a blanket over it. If someone walks past the house with raw meat, he goes mental, you know. But he's brilliant, so I loved him so much, you know.
And I mean, the twins, Bubble, what a surprise.
Yeah, I know, and I like, at the start, my partner Kelly is a twin, and she thought from the moment that she got pregnant, it's twins, and I was thinking it couldn't possibly be. I'm not able for that. And we went for the scan, and it was one. And we were like, oh, so that's okay. And she was saying, I don't know how I was going to break it to you. If it was twins, what would you have done? I was there going, we don't have to worry about it. It's just one. We went for the next scan, and they were doing the scan, and the woman, still while doing it, goes, oh, they told you, did they? It was two. And I thought it was a joke, and I laughed, and nobody laughed back. And Kelly just grabbed my arm like this and went, are you okay? Please tell me you're okay, please. But yeah, so it is two. And it's all done, and thankfully, I think we're not going to go again. We're really, really enjoying it, and it's really, really great, but the rifle was decommissioned 2 weeks later.
Oh, really, yeah?
Yeah. We're like, OK, that's enough of that.
Put beyond use.
Yeah, and I realised...
Buried in concrete.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I am, like, nearly 50, so it's probably a good idea.
So your partner's, Kelly, so her parents, you had to tell them, but they don't live here?
Yeah, they don't live... All her family... She's from Boston, so it was twins, and we were like, OK, now we have to tell your parents that we're having babies, and I'd never met them. I never talked to them, and she said she's going to with a guy called PJ Gallagher. He's a comedian. They're living in Boston. Like, who's this guy? We'll Google him. So all they knew about me was that I was a guy who used to dress up as an old woman who had a mental breakdown in a fight with Conor McGregor. That's all they knew. That's all they knew. So they're like, are you sure about this guy? Like, who is this guy? He's having you a baby. So I didn't have, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was a baptism of fire to break the news to them, but they've been brilliant. They've been so nice and welcoming to me, which they probably maybe shouldn't have been, but they are, yeah.
No, but look, you know, what's lovely about it is listening to you and hearing about, you know, family life and sort of feeling like settling down. And you know, you've written this book, which is called Madhouse, which is, I mean, this is a brilliant read. This is an absolute brilliant read, and this talks a lot about your family growing up,
yeah,
which seems very, very different from what you're going through with
right
your
now.
own. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, you say to people, we grew up in a madhouse, and everyone goes, yeah, I know, so did I. And you're like, no, I grew up with, my ma was part of Eastern Health Board sort of experiment at the time, where she literally did take in 6 mental patients into our home, people who had schizophrenia and stuff, and they all lived with us in our house. So on one side of the house was 6 people who were really mentally ill, and then there was us as kids, I was probably mentally ill, and my parents who probably were as well, and we all lived in a big house together. And yeah, so it wasn't exactly like a lot of people grow up, you know, so I suppose this is what we started writing that book, and it was supposed to be just about that, and we ended up getting into an awful lot more.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people who live through stuff which kind of seems crazy think it's normal. Did you think it was normal, or did you realise at the time?
I kind of just thought it. I didn't really realise what normal was. I would go to other people's homes, my friends' houses, and they'd be so quiet. You know, you'd sit down, they'd eat their dinner together, they'd watch TV. I was like, what's going on? I couldn't, because our house was so crazy. Like, literally, I would come home some days, there was a man that thought there was a dog in his belly barking in the garden, and there was another man that, like, nearly drowned in the bath, and there was a guy who thought he was being chased. So the IRA were living in the attic sometimes, and this is just regular
where I grew
family
up,
life.
sometimes they were. So
this guy was definitely safe. Yeah. So it was, you know, and then like, people would say, do you know the guy that walks around the streets and he drinks cans and he's this guy? And I go, yeah, I do know him. I live with him. You know, I gave him his breakfast this morning. So it was a very unusual, experience growing up in that home.
You know, and your mum, she was kind of, you know, running the whole show there, wasn't she?
Everything, yeah. Like, she cut their hair, gave them their pills, gave them their meals, cut their toenails, got them their clothes. I mean, absolutely everything you can imagine. She did it.
And it's her anniversary on Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah.
You know, you're writing this book about the pain and the pain of the loss and processing all of that. But you also write something else which was interesting about it freeing you up in a way to kind of maybe be more honest with yourself. Yeah, it did, because for all my talk and coming on this show and saying, oh, you should be able to talk about mental illness, you should be able to say things the way they are and everything, I was still hiding the fact that both my parents were really bad alcoholics. And through that whole thing, and I was writing this book and leaving that out. And I talked to my sister about it. I was like, should I say something? She was like, you can't tell the story without saying that. Because, it dawned on me I was talking about mental illness, but I was doing the same thing. I was leaving out a lot. I was talking about depression and anxiety. I wasn't talking really about the schizophrenia or alcoholism, which is another mental illness, it's another disease, and I was leaving that out, so I was still lying. When I was here last year, I was still lying. In what way?
In that I was covering it up. For me, when I got sick, it was the shame that killed me. It wasn't the sickness, it was the shame. I was afraid anyone would know. And then when I was
because you're trying to hold things together and you're trying to hold down a job and all of these things, and what would people think?
I know it sounds crazy, but the only thing worse than existing for me was that people would know I was sick. And when my ma died, I wanted to tell her story, and then I realised I'm not being fair to her. She did all these things, but she also did them with her own problems. And that's a huge part of our family story and her story. She still managed to pull it off. I'm getting a little bit emotional now, to be honest. Maybe because of the day that's in it, but like it was, I just wanted to tell the truth. I wanted it to be out there, you know, and how great she was to be able to do it in spite of it all. You
know, there's so many people, you know, PJ, out there, and nothing is ever black and white, and that idea that, you know, sometimes the people that are giving you help are fully sorted out themselves. You know, life's tapestry, it fits together in a strange way sometimes. Yeah, it does. And sometimes it's hindsight too, you know, like when you were in that house and in that environment, all you wanted to do was escape, because you just thought, these men come before me, alcohol comes before me, everything comes before me, and then you start blaming your own problems on it, and I don't know, but so that was a huge part of the story. I had to do it, and it does come around. I mean, I am good now. No, I know. I can tell you're good. You know, in terms of how you're living your life now, it sort of feels you're happy and you're nappy, and you please yourself first, and then see what happens after that. Yeah, I do, and I do. I live a different relationship and everything. You know, I came as close to death as a person can come, and then I realised, why am I so afraid? Why can't I do normal things like have a normal family? And why have I ruined so many relationships? Because the family dynamic to me was always so terrifying. I was never able to fit into it. It always felt like a trap to me. And you write about that. You write about that in the book, because you write about polyamorous relationships. Mary Kielty is sitting up in Dundrum here tonight. Can you explain to Mary Kielty what polyamorous is? What polyamory is? How do you? I guess for me, I guess I see it as, I really do believe that the family dynamic I had was never going to work for me going forward. I needed to find something else. I need to have a chosen family, and I really do believe that you can have
loving relationships with more than one person. I do. Not in a sexual way necessarily, but you can have intimate, loving relationships with people. And the idea that I have to be absolutely everything in the world to one person is too much for me. It's terrifying. And the idea that I'm supposed to be that for someone else, that's equally terrifying. And I do believe I have enough love to give around. I have 2 kids now. I love them both equally. I don't have to take love off one to love another. I love them. And that's how I want to move forward. And someone's asking, why do you want to talk about it now? It's because, again, I just don't want to feel shame. I just don't want to feel shame about myself. I want to build a new and a very different life for myself.
You say a brilliant thing in the book, and it is, you know you're going to get sick again, but you know you're not going to get sick again?
Yeah. Well, I was diagnosed with recurrent depressive disorder, so there is no doubt about it. I am going to get ill again. What I do absolutely know is the next time it happens, I will be in control. I know what to do. I know how to deal with it. I know who to go to. I know what medication to take. I know to never be quiet about it. And that's all in place. So it's great to know that when it comes next time, I'm in charge. So.
I mean...
I know.